This is WCN, the Whole Care Network. You talk, we listen. Content presented on the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed during this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent views of the Whole Care Network. Always consult your physician for medical and fitness advice, and always consult your attorney for legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
Have you ever met anybody that has caregiving on their bucket list of things to do in life?
Beyond caregiving, how do we care?
We also have to care for ourselves.
How do we treat friends, family, strangers we meet?
Forget it.
How do we heal? The physical, social, financial, spiritual.
Hello.
By creating healing ties. Tying it all together like a bow tie. With your host, Christopher McClellan, the bow tie guy.
Well, greetings, everyone. It is Christopher McClellan, the bow tie guy, and welcome to another episode of Healing Ties featured on the Whole Care Network. Now, as you know, on the Whole Care Network, we are all about story sharing because we believe that it's through story sharing where diversity meets the road to collaborate on a common cause. And our common cause is supporting caregivers before, during, and after caregiving ends. And as you know, we're celebrating National Family Caregivers Month with the reboot of the popular Healing Ties podcast. Well, obviously I think it's popular, but I hope you do too, with our 30 podcast in 30 days to celebrate National Family Caregivers Month. And more importantly, the soft launch of our new Whole Care Network website. So when you get a chance, please visit our new website at thewholecarenetwork.com, where you get the opportunity to meet Bo. Now, when you see Bo, you're going to get it. I just know you're going to get it. But Bo ties things together on the Whole Care Network. And during our soft launch, we are asking our listeners to provide us with feedback on the new site so we can continue to build our site where you can easily find your favorite podcasts, favorite blogs, and videos. Oh, and by the way, you'll be able to search content on the Whole Care Network by our 4 pillars of care. That's our physical, social, financial, and spiritual health. And be on the lookout for our new YouTube channel featuring live shows. Our 24/7 streaming radio station will be live in 2021. And we've got a number of other exciting changes coming to the Whole Care Network in the new year. I'm also looking forward to receiving your feedback on the new site at wecare@wholecarenetwork.com. Now, that really is enough from me. My guest today on this episode of Healing Ties is Katherine Wells. And Katherine is a startup entrepreneur in the senior care space and a co-podcaster who is challenging the status quo in today's senior care system. She has 27 years as an executive in the software industry, ranging from startups to global corporations. Katherine brings her unique blend of corporate and entrepreneurial background together with her drive to impact the lives of our older adults. And over the last 10 years, Katherine has directly experienced the communication breakdown between senior living facilities, providers, and families, and is on a mission to solve it. Katherine, it is great to reconnect with you and have you on Healing Ties today. Thanks for joining me.
Chris, it's great to be here. I'm really happy to be reconnected with you and talking about caregiving and what we can be doing for the caregiving journey, because it's a journey and it's not an easy one.
It's not an easy one. It's one of the greatest journeys that you can be on, but it is It is difficult. It's filled with a lot of hills and peaks and valleys, but there's no greater honor than to be a
I,
family caregiver.
yeah, and I love that you said that too, that it is an honor and it has so many gifts it gives us. And we don't know that when we start out. It's just scary when we start out and so unknown. And they say about Alzheimer's, if you've met one person with Alzheimer's, you've met one person with Alzheimer's. I think the same is true about the caregiving journey. It is unique and different for everyone.
Very much so. And I can just share this real quickly with all our listeners. I'm in after caregiving, as everybody knows, but I can guarantee everybody out there, when caregiving ends, you're going to forget about the bad days and you're going to remember all the good days, because the good days far outweigh the bad days. It's just that the bad days were so intense while you're in the
Yes.
middle of it. So
I agree with that. I had my own caregiving journey, which I know we'll talk about
we'll
a little
get into
bit.
that a
And
little bit today. Yeah.
yeah, and it really is intense in the moment, but we get through it and
We do.
we have so many wonderful memories afterwards.
I'm very thankful for the great memories and, and talking with you. And I remember when we first met over the summer, you're taking from your caregiving experience and helping really establish good communication tools with senior living communities throughout the country. And I just want to know a little bit more about Serenity. I just need some serenity in my life.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. In my corporate experience, I always knew I wanted to do something that had more meaning to it than marketing and selling software to other businesses for IT reasons. And when my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 10 years ago, I knew my life was going to change. I just didn't know how much it was going to change. And what I learned was, as the Alzheimer's disease progresses, it not only impacts the person, it also impacts the family. And
Right.
I knew that it would, I just didn't know to what degree. So it was interesting to watch during the journey that as my mom began to progress, my father also needed more help, which I thought was really interesting. And I think it's because mom always took care of dad. And now mom needed more help and more care. So we started the caregiving journey with bringing in home care. And that was the first time I realized there were communication issues. And so this brings us around to the beginning of Serenity, where I realized that there are a lot of moving parts in senior care, and they only grow. They grow exponentially throughout the journey, and different people come in and out of the care circle around our loved ones. And they don't always communicate very well with each other. And that leaves the family member to often be the person putting the pieces and parts together. So what I created was Serenity Engage, and it's serenityengage.com. It is a HIPAA compliant conversation platform. And I specifically use the term conversation rather than communication, because the idea is that we build conversation between the care staff and family members.
Very good.
Yeah. And it's not just the care staff themselves. It's all of the different providers who are coming in and out of this care circle. We're all together on a single platform to communicate and collaborate about the best possible care for our loved one. But it's done through conversation.
Isn't it funny how things in all circles of life really come down to open and honest communication and conversation?
Yes. Yes. And if I think about that, that's where we build trust in our lives, and in our relationships. And if you're a fan of Stephen Covey, who I am, and you remember the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the things we talk about is that he talks about is the idea that we can put deposits into people's emotional bank accounts. And I look at Serenity and I look at Serenity as a way for care staff, especially those in senior living communities where family can't get in right now. So family
Mhm.
really has no idea what's happening with their loved one. And if you
Mhm.
can't rely on mom or dad's self-report anymore, if you, for example, call them and say, how are you doing? And you get the answer that I got with my dad, which was, they haven't fed me in days. I haven't been showered
Yes.
in weeks. Nobody's been here in months. And of course, pre-COVID, I was there the day before, so I knew that wasn't true.
Right.
We're in COVID now. So
It's
that makes
difficult.
people
It's
wonder.
different. Yeah.
hmm and there's no reason to have that trust disintegrate in any way. In fact, we should be working to build up the trust right now. And I believe that trust is the currency of senior care. So, currency being the thing that we are trading in, it's all about trust. If we don't have a real, solid, strong, trusted relationship between family and staff, that's when family goes into our human nature, which is the negativity bias, and we begin to look for the negative things.
Yeah, that's when
And
our family baggage starts reappearing at the door.
well said, well said. Yes. And so that impacts everybody negatively, not just the family, but also the care staff. And
Mhm.
also then that extends to the quality of care that our loved one receives.
So take me through the system of the Serenity. Excuse me if I'm not correct here, but this is an app that senior living communities can work with families.
It sure is. It is a mobile app, and we will have a browser version shortly. But currently, today, it is a mobile app and it is HIPAA compliant. And the
Mhm.
way that it works is we have a communication channel for each resident or patient. We have hospice providers who also use us in home
Okay.
health. So, whatever your terminology is, whether it's resident or patient, we have one channel for that person that is being cared for. And then everyone in the care circle surrounding that person is in that channel communicating.
Ah, very good.
Yes.
So
And
there, you people can that information is being filtered out to everybody in the care circle, so that everybody knows the same story.
yeah, everybody's on the same page and they have the right information at the right time. And it's asynchronous. So it's very much like text messaging, where if you text somebody, you know that you have sent that to them and they'll read it when they can. That's asynchronous communication. What you and
Mm,
I are doing live, this is synchronous communication. If I
very good.
say something, I expect you to respond right now.
I better are like I'm not paying attention. So
I know you're asleep at the wheel over
I'm
there.
asleep, and you would know because I'm like sitting right in front of the camera
I
with you. So
know. I would. I would. I would see your mustache and your
I
beard
didn't
kind of going
kind of
with the
like what?
snoring, right?
Yeah.
So with asynchronous communication, it's the way the world works today. It just
Right.
is. If you want to communicate with your bank, many people just hop on the app, send a message, a secure message, and they know they'll get a response when they get a response. But it will be within a period of time, usually a day or two. And that's what we're setting up here. We're giving family direct access to the care team,
Hmm.
the care staff. And what we're finding when we do that is that everything changes. The quality of care for our loved ones increases exponentially. The family members are more relaxed, they're happier, they're more satisfied with the care. And I'm a marketing person, so the idea of perceived value is very important. Perceived quality of care is equally as important. If a family member feels like the care is not good, they're going to run around and tell 20 people how bad you are and don't ever move your loved one in, right?
Exactly. And there's no way to controvert that.
No, because you're dealing with somebody's emotions. But if a family member has access to the care team and they know they can communicate and just send a message, for example, just a short message, how's my dad today? And they get a response back and maybe a photo of dad. And the response is, your dad had a rough morning, but he's doing great today. And he's reading his favorite mystery novel. That changes everything. Now that
Ah.
family member is going to tell everyone who asks them that this is a great community. And so their perceived quality, you could be doing exactly the same things, but the perception by the family has just gone from really low to really high. And that's one of probably the biggest values right there.
And you said something earlier that just connects to what you just described. And I actually had to write it down because I don't want your emotional bank account.
Yes.
To have these positive electronic interactions between staff and family, and with the person who is in the community, in the facility, it does help on your emotional bank, because when you get, as you described it earlier with your father, you get these calls. You receive the same, well, I'm not getting this, or they're not treating me like this. Well, then you look at the app and say, well, look at all those things you've been doing the last 24 hours. It does help your emotional bank account.
It does. And going back to having everybody on the same page, everybody has the same information. I had a brother in Wisconsin at the time, and he would call and get that report from my dad. And you can imagine where his mind went. Well, I was here in Denver, which is where I'm located, and so is my father, and I knew better, and I knew the staff very well. He didn't have that. He didn't have the opportunity to build a relationship with the staff. So for him, he would go ballistic and say, oh my God, then he's on the phone calling me. He's on the phone calling the staff there. So these are things that are wholly avoidable. And it's a very, very simple, quick, easy solution.
Goodness, I'm just kind of projecting here, but when you're the lead on the care team, and you're balancing family members, siblings, and they're in other cities and they get these calls, who usually gets the blame for what's going wrong?
Really good point. And I'm so glad you said that, because we haven't talked about that yet. The lead, the person, and I call this person the CEO of the care team.
Oh, we are
do
so
we
together.
think alike?
The chief everything officer.
I like it. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about it that way, but yes, that is what it is. It is literally, Chris, it is literally everything from I need to order more Depends for my mom to making strategic decisions about when does dad go on hospice, or do we need to start scaling him back on some of the meds that he's on.
Right.
It is the chief everything officer. You're right. And really, I think this is something families don't know. So you begin slowly.
Exactly, because it's my pet question I ask everybody, and I've never gotten a yes answer on this. Does anybody have caregiving on their bucket list of things to do in life?
Oh goodness, that's such a great question.
No, I've not gotten a yes to that. I'd like to.
Yes.
So I know that they're prepared, but nobody's prepared for an accident or an untimely diagnosis.
Yeah. And I think you can't prepare. I think you couldn't go through and get educated on it and just be prepared and be ready. You really just have to live through the experience.
Yeah.
And the good news is there are lots of people like you and I out there, many, many, many people who've been through it or who are going through it and have some expertise or some support to offer, some words that are helpful. And we're there. We're really in it together. We keep hearing that about COVID. We're in it together. I think caregivers have been in it together as long as caregiving has existed.
Exactly. And it's through our stories where we all connect. And I may not know somebody personally, but if I've heard their caregiving story, I can relate and I can talk to them, and like we're talking in the same language. It's like we've known each other for years, when really we've only known each other since July or August. But there's a comfort there because we understand.
Yes, a shared meaning through our shared experience of caregiving. Well said. And to go back to the idea that we start slow with caregiving, oftentimes it does start at home, and it does start with bringing in home health and then or home care, and then talking about driver's license and when should the driver's license be taken away. I can't even begin to tell you how many times
we just had that. Had that conversation on earlier today with one of our guests. So yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Yes.
you'll be interested to have that. Yeah.
I will. And it's a very, very, very difficult and tricky
It
thing.
is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No easy
It's
way
one
to
of the,
do it.
there's no easy ways, but we've got a referral for you.
I love it.
We've got a
Well,
referral
I
for you.
have been through it. So my parents both passed last year, and I'm so grateful that they did not live into the COVID era. It would not have been good. So I'm grateful for that. And they were ready, and it was time, and we had good, peaceful, loving goodbyes with the whole family.
It's so important.
Yeah. But I think, this is good, Chris. I did not actually connect these dots. I think one of the reasons our entire family, I have 3 brothers, our entire family could really go through a loving, peaceful goodbye for both of our parents was because of the caregiving journey. Because we went through so many things together, because we had to sit down and have hard conversations with each other, and we leaned on each other to help Dad, determine that maybe it was time to give up driving, and help Mom when we had to move her into memory care, and it was just the worst day of all of our lives. And we did that together. And so and that goes back to what you said earlier, is it's such a gift to have gone through the caregiving journey. It's such a gift. And you can never know what kind of gift it's going to be until the end.
And you given your parents such a beautiful sunset.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I think I've had people say, well, Kathy, I am writing a book, but they say, Kathy, why don't you write a book that's like, what is it? The pregnancy book where they walk you, what to expect when you're expecting about the end of life. And my response is, you can't do that, because it truly is an individual journey. Yes, there are some things that are consistent through the process,
right?
But it is so different. You just can't put together that kind of a roadmap.
It's a roadmap that we all end up traveling, and it takes a lot of different turns and peaks and valleys, but it's something that when we have that ability to talk openly about it with our loved ones, it makes it just a little bit easier to get through.
Yeah, it does. And something that I think about a lot, because I'm in this industry and because I also podcast on topics like this, we all know that there are 3 major problems in senior care. And these are all pre-COVID. One of them is communication, which is the one I am solving with Serenity Engage. Another one is caregiver turnover. So the staff turnover. We don't have enough people to provide care for the population that is entering that age group.
Exactly.
And that is something that has been a surprising outcome. It was an unintended consequence, even though I knew it would happen. I had no way of proving it until it did happen. With Serenity Engage, is that when care staff is connected directly with the family, suddenly they become seen by the family. And by that, I mean, even when you're pre-COVID, you go visit Mom or Dad, generally nights or weekends, because you have a full-time job. So what's happening nights and weekends? Nights especially, it's often sundowning, or people are very, very tired and discombobulated and not in the best mood. And then you add staff changes to that. It's the shift change, should I say. Yeah. And everything is discombobulated. So you never really, as a family member, get to see the staff who is providing this extraordinary care on a daily basis for your loved one. And if you do, it's rare, and it's a few moments at a time. So what Serenity allows is for families to build relationships with the staff. And what's happening is, as they are building these relationships, staff is excited and they're engaged in conversations,
because they know the players. They feel like they're a part of the family.
Exactly.
It's not just a person in a bed.
Yes. And they get attached to our loved ones.
They get attached. Yes. How could you not?
How could you not? Exactly. So this does, it really, really brings them together. And we're seeing less turnover in staff and higher job satisfaction in caregivers who are using Serenity.
You see,
And it's
you're adding to that emotional bank account again.
Yes, every time, because that emotional bank account is what helps us when we have that inevitable, difficult conversation, because they come, they're there. It's going to happen as we age. So if you have a full emotional bank account, you have room, you have cushion to have those conversations and really be care partners. And if you don't have any room, you end up in conflict almost immediately.
And that's when you need to be thinking about a different career.
Yes. Well said.
Oh goodness, Katherine, I could talk to you forever, but
I could too.
Let's take our break here. And
all right.
One of the features we're doing on our 30 and 30 podcast is I kind of put our guest on the spot. When we come back from the break, I want to know one fun fact about you that we haven't chatted about and that our listeners would be very interested in. So get your thinking cap on. You're listening to Healing Ties on the Whole Care Network. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow on Healing Ties 2.0.
What is the answer most caregivers, most people give when they're asked, how are you? They say, I'm fine. So I tell people, good. You want to tell people you're fine? Here's what FINE stands for. Frazzled, irritated, neurotic, and exhausted. Hi, this is Lauren Gelberg-Goff. I'm a psychotherapist and author, and most people know me for the group Take Back Your Life for caregivers. And I want you all to join me with Chris McClellan on Healing Ties. And I look forward to having you share your thoughts, your feelings, your questions as you listen and go through it so we can all heal and grow and take back our lives together.
Join us tomorrow and every day in November for 30 shows in 30 days. Healing Ties 2.0. Available at thewholecarenetwork.com/Healing Ties and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm continuing my delightful conversation with Katherine Wells. And Katherine, I told you before the break I was going to put you on spot.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the fun fact about Katherine Wells that everybody wants to know about?
That everybody wants to know about.
Everybody wants to know about.
That one of my favorite things to do, the thing that grounds me the most, that reduces stress in my life, that gives me clarity of thought, is to torture myself by entering a room that is 105 degrees and 50% humidity and do yoga, strenuous yoga, not easy yoga, strenuous yoga for 90 minutes and have someone telling me exactly what to do every minute. And you can't deviate from it. So I am a Bikram yoga fan. I know that I don't care for the person Bikram. He was not the best, but the style of yoga is fabulous. It's healing for me. That's my healing tie. And
that's your healing tie. I like that.
I also am an instructor of that type of yoga.
Oh, I'm going to have to come to Denver for a session.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is wonderful. I love it. And I bring my friends sometimes and they want to pass out halfway through and they say, I don't know what you're doing. How'd you do this? And to me, it is my respite.
And it helps you increase your emotional bank account.
Yes, it does, which we all need to be doing right now, especially right now. Mm-hmm.
Well, Katherine, with the stories you share, the work that you do, you are certainly someone who's creating healing ties all around us. I can't thank you enough for joining me today.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Just a delight. I'm so glad we did this. Thank you.
As am I, and I look forward to more.
Exactly, because I want to increase my emotional bank account, and you're helping me with that.
I love it.
Okay. Well, goodness gracious, Saint Ignatius. I hate to end this episode of Healing Ties, but as you know, I'm your host, Christopher McClellan. You know me as the Bowtie Guy. I've created a life to love after caregiving ends by sharing stories, resources, and being with awesome people like Katherine Wells. Healing Ties is produced in the posh studios of Oddbox Production in downtown St. Louis, Missouri, and is part of the Whole Care Network. Check out our soft launch of our new Whole Care Network website and be sure to meet Bo. And don't forget to subscribe to Healing Ties wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. We'll see you for another episode of Healing Ties. Well, actually, tomorrow as we continue our 30 podcasts in 30 days to celebrate National Family Caregivers Month. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye for now.
Ciao.
This is WCN, the Whole Care Network. You talk, we listen.